So you have a budget written, you're following it, and you're doing great, and then something derails it. Today, we're going to talk about money weaknesses, and I'm going to share with you some of the ones I've had over my lifetime that I've had to overcome, and some that I still struggle with, and how to recognize those. I hope you'll stick around.
I'm Bonita and I am early retired. I'm not old enough yet for Social Security. I'm living on a low income and I am living off of savings. I live in Kansas on a farm and I have a donkey. This is Brownie. I have frugal videos all year round, and I hope that you will join me this year as we share ways to save money and live our dreams. North Carolina has all of these interesting vines that climb up these trees and won't let go. And as I was looking at these, I started thinking how that can be with some of our money temptations. Many of you know that I was a nursing home administrator for most of my career, and you may or may not know that I worked in a mental health nursing home. It was the step between living in a group home and living in the state mental hospital, and Kansas had 12 of these facilities at the time that I was working. So, when you're working with mental health people, you can't help but reflect on yourself and say, do I have some things I need to work on? I just didn't feel right working with people and saying, we really need to work on this without reflecting on myself, saying, I'm sure I have some things I need to work on as well. And with the mental health philosophy, we focus on strengths, not the symptoms and the deficits of the illness. We work on what their strengths can do, how it can make them have more direction in their life, and how it can create growth. So that's what we work on. But we do all have strengths. But I know for myself, I also have some money weaknesses, and identifying those so that when I am out and about, I am not drawn to things that will wreck my budget is very important. So, as I was growing up, many of you know I had Depression era parents. I had a lot of homemade clothes. I didn't have my first pair of jeans until I was in junior high, and then they came from a thrift store. And my mom had to alter them around the waist so they would fit. So, as I started babysitting and making some of my own money, the first thing I was drawn to was clothing. I wanted to buy clothes every time I had enough to buy a new shirt and we went to the city, I would buy a new shirt. And that was something I was really focused on, was expanding my wardrobe. And that came from me having a lot of homemade clothes that didn't always look like what my friends were wearing. No one said anything, but it was something that I had as a weakness and I was drawn to that. Then when I became a administrative professional and started working in offices, as many of us women do, we start being drawn to shoes that match every outfit. And I realized I was just getting too many shoes, and I really didn't need all of these. I wasn't wearing them all, they weren't all comfortable. And as I got towards my retirement, I started focusing on basic colors that would go with anything in my clothes and in my shoes. As I got a handle on purchasing some of those things and realized I had more than enough, I had a lot of kids at home. And one of the things that I started pack ratting then was food. I would tell myself it's okay to buy food. We have a large family, so I can spend whatever I want on food. And I really didn't have a budget. I was just buying food. And every time I turned around, I was coming in with bags and bags of food. Now, it didn't store up a lot because we did have a lot of people living in the house. But over time, as the kids started moving out, I started realizing that I didn't need to buy that much food. And food was the caveat that I was giving myself an excuse to buy without really planning, without really putting a number to it. I was just saying, if you buy food, it's exempt, it's fine. You can buy as much food as you want because it's food. And so I really had to get a handle on that and realize that I was overbuying. And that was something that I really had to pull the reins on. And I've really been doing that even more so in the last 2 years. We're empty nesters. We don't need that much back stock. And sometimes as our families move out, it's really hard to see how much food we really need for the few of us that are left, and start making sure that we manage our resources better and stop just buying more and not necessarily using up what we already had. So, those are three areas that I have battled with over my lifetime. And if you looked from the outside looking in, you wouldn't think there was a problem. And maybe it wasn't that big of a problem, but I felt like I had too much tied up in those items than was necessary. So I started pulling in the reins. I started setting a number to my budget with food so that I could get a hold of that spending and actually make plans for the stuff that I already had. So now that I've been down here in North Carolina, one of the first things I did was show you the tour of my son's home and all the things he thrifted. Now, I've never really been a thrifter. I've never really done garage sales or gone to thrift stores. But he said, Mom, you really need to go to this one. It's where we bought most of our stuff. They have such cool stuff. So I went over to Gastonia, North Carolina. They have a thrift store slash antique store called Gaston Pickers. And honestly, it was so big in there, you could get lost. I walked until my back was killing me. I know I did not get through all of the places. I immediately started noticing the things that I was drawn to. And that's where I got the idea for this video. I thought, Bonita, here you go again. These are the things that get you every time. And you need to really think about it because you make a beeline for those things every time you see them and you don't need any more. Do you have a place for them? No. Did you budget for them? No. Are you trying to declutter? Yes. Do you see a lot of these things in this store that you have at your house right now that you don't even have room to display properly? Yes. So I really walked around there and started just kind of telling myself, you don't need these things. And they're beautiful to look at. You can enjoy that someone has them and that they're preserved and that they're still around, but you don't need to take them home unless you actually have the money for it and you have a place to put it. So, did you see one of my weaknesses as I was showing you the videos? Old lamps that require oil or the old fashioned kind that plug in. And then, ooh, these chairs would look so cool at my son's home. And they had a Wizard of Oz section. And you know, I'm from Kansas. Oh, this was so cute. Look at the items in this section. I have to pull myself away. Maybe I'll look just a little bit longer. No, I really don't need any of this. I really don't. So, did I end up purchasing anything at Gaston Pickers? I did. I spent $2 because one of my questions is, can you afford to spend this? Is it going to wreck your budget? And do you have a place to put it? So, what I got was this handmade doily for $2. It's not stained, it's not snagged. There's a fuzzy on it, but it is absolutely perfect. And that's what I got for $2. I do have some place to put this. So I will enjoy that and I will walk away with no regrets. The rest of the items need to stay where they were. Then I missed my turn coming back home because I'm not really familiar with this area yet. And I went by a place called Bargain Hunters. I thought, well, I have to turn around anyway. I'm just going to walk through. It's kind of like a Goodwill or a Salvation Army. And when I went in, the first thing I was drawn to were these bottles that look like they're from I Dream of Jeannie, or curtains or beddings or vases and kitchen gadgets. Let me know, what are your money weaknesses? What do you make a beeline for when you're shopping? Do you have certain things that just call your name and say, you need to buy me? I don't care. You'll figure it out later with the money. I think we all have those weaknesses. But the important thing is to identify them, recognize them, budget, know that you are going to naturally be drawn to these things, and think about those questions when you're going in these places. For some of us, it's better to just not even walk in those places and look around to begin with, because we will walk out owning something that we didn't plan on owning, and then we won't have a place to put it, or we'll have to get rid of something that maybe is already in our house to make room for it. The problems just can snowball. So that's why I wanted to do this video, to discuss this with you and to let you know that I am not perfect by any means. I have spent a lifetime trying to work on my frugal habits, and I've added more as I've gone along, and they provide the life for me so that I can travel and do some of the things that I want to do. But I still have to be careful. We all have to be careful, unless we just have an endless inflow of money. We all have to be careful about how much we allow into our homes, how much we spend on things that are not things that we need, even if it is over buying food like I was doing. I had to get a handle on that. There's two of us now. Why stock up a back room, two pantry shelves, cabinets, a freezer, a fridge? We don't need all that. So I'm trying to cut back and regain some of my space that I allowed to be overtaken by backstock. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments, what are some of your weaknesses that you've identified? What do you really have to watch yourself around so that you don't come home with some things that you should have left at the store? Thanks for watching today, and I hope to see you in the next video.